I'm gonna make myself an old style Portuguese soup here today. Got a couple of big pots. These are big ass pots. I got them on them. I got kale, curly kale, black kale, a whole bunch of it. I gotta clean that all, rinse that all good, and I got some cabbage here. So that's the green pot. So what I'll do first is put the chunk meat in there, and I'll cook the chunk meat in some water. Then I'll take it all out, cut it all up, cut all the bones out of it, cut it all in little pieces. I'll also take some hamburger, fry it up in a pan, get all the fat out of it, and put it aside. You know, what I'll probably do is I'll move this pan for now, and I'll take care of this hamburger. And then, you know, as the soup goes on, I got some turkey chorizo, which is like a Portuguese style chorizo. It's a red chorizo, and I'll cut it up in little pieces. And I also got linguiça and chorizo. Now the turkey stuff is a little more healthy than the regular stuff, so being health conscious that I am, I'll use this stuff. Now obviously potatoes, carrots, potatoes and onions will go in there also. I got some beef broth. I'm gonna have kidney beans, like 3 big cans. I got a bunch of diced tomatoes. I like to put some of that in there. And the beef broth. And I like white hominy. I'll throw a couple of cans in. I'm going to make a double batch. So what I'll do is I'll, you know, equal it out into both sides. This way I'm not overflowing the pan. I think it's a big pan. See, it's almost to the top of the... I think it's 60 quarts or something like that. I think this one might be 40, 45. And that's 60, I believe. And what I'll probably do also is I'll probably put some ragu in there. Maybe, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Another thing I like to do is I like to throw a thing of rice in there. Kind of thicken it up a little bit, and it gives it good flavor. So when I do cooking, I kind of go along, you know, do what I think is right, and if I want to add something else, I'll add it. I don't care. I have no rules. So see if I get some shots as I go along, and I'll show you. Try to do a little video on it. First thing to do is cook up this meat and get this all rendered down, get the bones out of it, get it all cut up in small pieces so it will be good in the soup. And also cook this hamburger up. This is just 85.15. Now obviously I'm making a big batch, and what I'll do is I'll just freeze it. I got a bunch of containers. I got a big freezer downstairs. I'll put it all in containers separate and just freeze it and take it out, and the thing will last me for a long time. It could last me up to a year. Just take it out as I want it. I got some water in the bottom there, and I'll dump a couple of things of beef broth in there, and I'll cook this meat up. Probably don't need the beef broth, but I'm going to add it anyway. Salt free, or less salt, less sodium. 50% less sodium. Alright, I got my couple of slabs of chuck around beef in there. I'll cook it up. I'll take it out and cut it all up. There's bones and gristle in there. I got to cut all that up into pieces. Alright, basically I got another one of those in this pan here, and I'm just going to heat it up or render it down, cook it all good, and get all the fat out of it. Put it aside. You know, later I'll add all the salt, pepper, seasonings, garlic salt, whatever I want in the soup. So there's no sense of me putting it in this. Just kind of rendering it down. Cook it, pre-cook it. Dog might want some soup when it's done. What do you think? You want some soup? Kind of pre-cook it. This way I get all the grease out of it. I don't want all that grease inside my pan. the soup. A good way to drain my hamburgers, I just put this on top of a container. All the fat will drain into the bottom. And drain all the fat out of there. I'm gonna have enough fat with that meat chop in there anyway. Do this other one. Well, I got my hamburger all in this container, and that's how I drained it. Look at all the fat that come out of that. So I'll just cover this for now. Put that aside, my meat's cooking in here. Steaming away. Let that cook for a while, and then I'll pull it out, cut it all up, and be ready to rock with the soup. Nothing like cooking with gas. You guys can keep the electric stuff. Alright, pull the meat out like that. I already cut one up. Cut it up all in little sections, you know, and then all the fat and the bones I'll feed to the dog later. I'll cut it up. I cut it up with these scissors here, chop it up all fine. And you can see that's the start of the broth there. It's going to be very good. And I'll take that broth and I'll mix it in both pans. This way here, I don't. As I found with one pan, sometimes I got too much going on. I can't handle it. So with a double pan, I'll never run out of room. I got plenty of room. And I'll get this going, put aside, and get started on something else here. We'll cut the rest of this up. Alright, I got the chorizo cut up in big pieces. I kind of like it. It's basically like a red sausage. I'm gonna hold off on the linguiça for a while. I got enough of the chorizo there. So I got the chorizo, got the chunk meat, you know, I got the hamburger underneath there. So I'll get this stuff all prepped, ready to go for the soup. What I did is I took half the water and I mixed it in both pans, and I added like 5 cups of water in each container. Next I'll probably put my diced tomatoes in there, and I'm starting to heat that up. Then I'll probably, you know, get my potatoes and onions all prepped, ready to go. The greens all cleaned. You know, start cooking the potatoes, get them kind of rendered down a little bit. Throw the meat in there, and you got to kind of put it in as you go. You don't want to. Some things cook quicker than others. The greens don't take no time to cook. It's gonna like render down really quick there. A lot of chorizo there. I like that. All big chunks. It'll be good in the soup. Alright guys, I'm gonna put 2 of these in each. Diced tomatoes. I like this hominy corn. It's basically, it's like a bean. I rinsed it good and I'll just dump them in there. That's how I'm going to do it. Rinse them good in the colander. What I'll do next is I'll got this all cut up, all the red potatoes. I'll throw my chorizo and linguiça mix in. Chunk meat and the hamburger. Throw that all in, start that going. Next thing I'll do is I'll cut up the onions. Alright guys, I got some onions chopped up here. And I got some celery. It's all going in. And let that cook until the potatoes start rendering, starting to get a little soft. This is all going in now. bit more liquid in there. And alright guys, I got all the straight kale cleaned up, all the curly kale. 2 heads of cabbage. I got 1 cut up here. I'm going to throw that in the pot. Then I'll cut this one up, throw it in the other pot before I throw this stuff in, because this is takes a little bit longer to cook. I also got the red beans and the rice peel-off. I can throw the rice peel-off in now. I already put the seasoning in before with salt, pepper, garlic, salt, and the seasoning here type of stuff. Potatoes are pretty much cooked now, so I can put the rest in. I wanted to render that, get them potatoes all cooking good. Like I said, this cabbage takes a little bit longer to cook because of the middle, so we'll throw that in for now. I'll cut this other one in, throw it in the other pot. Best part is the greens. Get that cooking. The stuff that goes in is the red kidney beans, and then straight kale and the curly kale. Bring that up to a boil, let that cabbage cook a little bit, and I can throw the rest of this in. I threw the rice in. A package of rice peel-off in each container. It'll be a nice soup when it's all done. It'll be good. Alright, I got everything in there. Kale, cabbage, everything's in there. I'll let it render down, but it's looking pretty good to me. I'll let that render down a little bit. So I go with the big pots. I'm not struggling. You know, could all fit in one pot, but it'd be hard to stir. Better this way. Alright, I'll give you guys a shot when it's all done. Scrape the bottom, make sure it doesn't burn, you know. Added a little bit more water to it. Same thing with this one. This one's got a thin bottom. Use this pepper, that seasoning, garlic powder. I didn't use any salt. I had enough flippin' salt with the canned stuff, so I'm not worried about salt. And we'll let it cook a little bit longer, and I'll give it a taste test and see how it is. I'm thinking it's going to be very good. And I'll put it in a bunch of containers, and I'll just freeze it. And just take it out as I need it and warm it up. Zap it in the microwave for suppers. Be hot. We'll let it cool down, but good looking stuff right there. That's a good soup. My dog's waiting to lick the bowl. Very tasty. Alright guys, second bowl here. You want some? I'll give the dog some. Very good. You know, and obviously I would put some extra stuff in here that you don't have to put, but I make the soup the way I like it. You make your own soup the way you like it. Period. This will last me for a while. Big panel like that. freeze it up, and we'll have soup for a while. Yum. That's a hearty meal right there. That's something like your mother used to make back in the day.